to kind of go through the basics, we're going to have 7 different named ones. These all have to be named. Notice how they're pieces of paper, but they all have different names in them. That's very important. We're going to take a quick look around the mechanism here. This little glass conveyor belt right here is what basically shuffles through the different codes. Over here we have our daylight detector, and basically after a day, this is just going to set off and it's going to move over the detector by 1. And of course that's all wired into this little hopper system right here, where once you drop an item here, it'll come down here, and if the name matches the item right here, or if whatever block you put here, you're gonna have to put a block that's hard to get right here to prevent anybody from really just throwing in a grass block and being able to kind of bypass this entire system. So they'll put in the correct number, and well, we can actually show that off right now. If we go ahead and insert it, it tells us it's green, and it'll actually give us our number back, which this system is completely separate. If you wanted to not have this system on, if you wanted to just kind of make it a one-time ticket thing, you can absolutely do that. So now that we've disabled that system, you can go ahead and put it in. It's green, and you can see it's right here. Now the reason that there's 7 different columns is that these each have a different one that correctly corresponds to another name, you could say, and they all lead back here. This little system is a little separate, and yes, you can improve upon this. This was kind of like a last second thing because I didn't want to figure out the timing, but 2 pistons on the bottom here, piece of ice, dispenser. Basically this dispenses an item into the center here, and then the pistons push it up, and this is a really old mechanic that surprisingly today still works, but if you put an item in a void, it'll float up to the top, which is exactly how sand item droppers work, but those are only 12 tall and they're very buggy. But right here we can have our item back, and we can go ahead and reactivate this. You kind of just heard that because of the time, this is now deactivated, and now if we /time set day, if we go ahead and set it to day, look at that. It detects it, so now the only one that works is number 2, and we can directly check that by throwing in our number 2. Lo and behold, it flashes green, and it gives us our item back. Alright, but let's say you throw in the wrong number, so we're going to throw in 1 again. And what's going to end up happening is it's still going to return the item, but it just flashed red right there, and we can go ahead and do that again. It flashed red, gave the item back, which means it's the incorrect number. And that works for all of them. We can do it for 777s over here. There we go. It kind of takes for a bit. It takes a while once, I actually didn't think about that, but it takes some time for the item to get across all of these. And if we throw in an item that's, well, not even close, it'll come to the very end over here and it'll immediately flash red. And just for the sake of imagination, you can obviously withdraw or subtract these 2 little light inputs here for, well, a door, and that's basically the entire redstone. I'll go ahead and fly around it so you have a pretty good grasp of how I put it all together. You can have like all the angles in here. There's some redstone at 1 tick. Right at the bottom here, there's a line of redstone that's leading up to there. We've got torches right here. These hoppers are facing this way, these hoppers are facing these, and these hoppers are all coming this way. Over here, we've got all the redstone, all of these guys, and this is basically the system that checks for which one of the different codes is going to end up working, which you can kind of see how this system basically works. You can go ahead and check out over here. We have obsidian on all 4s just to make sure that the glass doesn't accidentally end up ruining some of the redstone. Of course, you can replace that with furnaces or anything that's not movable by a piston. We've got triple here. So this system right here is basically just feeding all of these back into one line. There's a very important timing here. This has to be timed out to a full tick, and then it comes right here. But this also has to be timed at 2 ticks, because this system right here just checks if anything got thrown in, and if something did, then it's gonna wait a little bit, and then it's gonna throw a signal. And basically what that does is, say you throw in an item, well, it's obviously going to turn this on when it turns this on, and if that's correct, then it's going to go over here, and it's going to activate this, which is going to break this line, which will in turn turn on green, and make sure that red doesn't turn on so you don't accidentally do an access denied kind of thing. And we can go ahead and go around this one more time. We've got some hoppers here, dispenser facing that way. Some very well timed, as you can see, repeaters. This is just kind of like this because, well, I was trying to go for rapid fire, but for some reason this works, so I'm just leaving it like that. This system, if you don't want it, you obviously can just remove this entire line. I mean, this whole section right here is kind of just to like be able to turn it on and off. You obviously won't need this or any of this if you don't want to have it returned, but if you do, you just get rid of this. Everything else right here can stay. And that's basically how it works. We can go ahead and do number 2 again. Flashes green, and it gives us back the item. Now here, we'll cycle another day. So eventually the moon comes out. This will detect that it's night sometime. Maybe midnight. Alright, it's midnight. We'll set it back today. Now only the third one will work. We'll go ahead and show you from the side view so that you have a pretty good understanding of how that works. Drops the item, sends it up, and it ends up at the top for collection. And of course, at the same time, it flashes green. So that's how that works. Do with what you will to this redstone. I've obviously labeled things. You can name these different, more complicated numbers to make them harder to recreate. But that's the basis of it.